Though you're watching this much later, early in 24, we're in Oman in December 23. And that's why this Audi is covered in this wrap. It's the new Audi S3, and this is our very first chance to drive it. As part of the overall Audi A3 updates, the S3 gets a significant upgrade and it brings it closer to the RS3 than before. Under the bonnet, as before, is a 4-cylinder, 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine. It's got a little bit more power and torque, admittedly. It still has an automatic transmission and it has all-wheel drive. The big change is that it gets a fancy rear differential from the RS3. It's called a torque splitter, and I'll talk a bit more about that when I'm driving. As well as that, we've got bigger brakes, slightly altered chassis and suspension to cope with all of that, better tyres, new wheels, etc. We can't show you the design today, but we can go out and drive and tell you what it's like from behind the wheel. As I said, the technical formula isn't drastically changed. You still got that turbocharged petrol engine under the front. It hasn't got the 5-cylinder engine of the RS3, obviously, but it has got a bit more power. Now it peaks at 333 horsepower, which is a very substantial figure, and torque is up as well. It's 420 newton meters. That engine is, as ever, attached to a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission and sends power to all 4 wheels. That's the formula that the S3 always has had. As before, the maximum split is 50-50 front to rear, so you can't have 100% rear-wheel drive in this car, for example. But the big new trick that the S3 now gets is that it has the torque splitter from the RS3 on the back. What that means is that, depending on your driving setting and how you're driving, it can split the torque 50-50, 0 to 100, whatever distribution it deems is necessary across the rear axle. So theoretically, one wheel could have 100% of the torque that's going to the back. And what that means is that the dynamics can be changed on the move and depending on the driving mode to suit, and it gives the car more agility. It's really interesting to drive and really interesting to try the different driving modes, actually. So when you're in the normal comfort setting, it isn't dramatic, the change. It doesn't cause massive amounts of oversteer, for example. But, and also new for the S3, there's a new Dynamic Plus driving mode. So as before, there was always a dynamic mode, an efficiency, comfort and individual for you to choose yourself. Now the new Dynamic Plus takes all the new hardware and combines it all together with newer software as well and the latest generation of ESC to provide the sportiest version of this car it can be. And it really does come alive. The exhaust valves open up and the differential at the back, it is then calibrated towards more oversteer. So when you're powering out of a turn, you actually do just that. You don't worry about understeer. You actually just power through and you feel the outside wheel in particular loading up and pushing you through the corner. And it is really, really agile feeling. It's really satisfying. It gives the car more of a rear drive feel. And those who love driving will absolutely love that. As before, there's plenty of other things changed by those driving modes, such as the power steering assistance and the ESC, as I mentioned, but also the adaptive damping. That's got 3 different settings in it. So you got the sport, the dynamic mode, as they call it, comfort, and then fully automatic, and that adapts to the driving conditions too. Interestingly, on the roads here in Oman, which are quite smooth generally and quite wide and well sighted, there are lots of bumps and a bit of a thin layer of dust, if you like, and the car copes really, really well with that. Coming up the mountains there, some of the surfaces aren't as good, and this copes really well. Even in the Dynamic Plus mode, the car moves with the surface, so it's not so rigid that it's uncomfortable, but yet when you lean on it into the corners, you have the very fine control, and you feel in control, you feel assured by the car. The progressive steering, which is a variable ratio steering rack, that helps, of course. So the more you turn into a corner, the more direct the steering becomes, and that again helps with the agility of the car, the agile feel of the car. Other little tweaks have been done to accommodate all those bigger changes. So some of the suspension components on the front have been beefed up a little bit. The ESC system, as I mentioned, has been changed, and there are a few other bits and pieces too. I'm now slowing down because Camels are blocking the road. On that subject, actually, the front brakes have been beefed up. So there is a bigger diameter brake disc, and it's actually thicker, so it should be able to cope with harder driving and bigger thermal loads, as they say. Audi still says that the S3 is very much a road car first and foremost. It's not made for track like the RS3 is, and indeed that car is developed by a different division, of course, the Audi Sport. This very much feels like a fast road car, and it's very, very capable. In the comfort mode, we were driving out of the city earlier, and it's comfortable, it's quiet, you know, it's refined. You could drive it absolutely every day. Then when you turn it up to Dynamic Plus, it comes alive. Well, that was an interesting first take on the new Audi S3. It's a much more agile car than before, and more nuanced as well. I suppose it does more, as I said in the video. If you want to know more about it, and in fact all of the Audi range and the A3 and all of its rivals, make sure you pop along to our website. It's CompleteCar.ie, and it's a great resource for finding your next new car.